If you grew up in the great state of Kansas, then you likely know the date January 29th very well. January 29th is the date that residents across Kansas celebrate their beloved state's birthday, otherwise known as Kansas Day. Kansas was admitted to the Union on January 29, 1861, which means that there are 154 candles on Kansas's birthday cake this year. Before I tell you more about Kansas Day, I'd like to give you a little history behind the Sunflower State and why Kansans are so proud of the state they call home. The road leading to Kansas becoming the 34th state was not exactly a smooth one. You see, there was a lot of struggle between pro and anti-slavery forces in Kansas at the time. In 1854, Kansas and Nebraska were organized as territories with popular sovereignty to decide the issue of slavery. In other words, people got to vote on whether they would be a free or slave state. Even though most Kansas settlers were anti-slave or abolitionists, it seems there were many pro-slavery advocates just across the border in Missouri. When residents in the territory voted on the issue, many fraudulent votes were cast from Missouri. This caused massive violence to break out, which earned Kansas the nickname Bleeding Kansas. However, the anti-slave faction eventually gained the upper hand and Kansas entered the Union as a free state in 1861. Now we jump ahead 16 years to January 8, 1877 in Paola, Kansas. Students in Paola Public Schools were learning about the Battle of New Orleans in Mr. Alexander Copley's classroom. After learning about the event, the whole school awoke with patriotism and decided to celebrate their pride in Kansas and its victories of peace. They decided that on Kansas's birthday, January 29th, they would set aside an entire afternoon to study Kansas's geography, its history, and its resources. And that is how Kansas Day was born. Mr. Copley became the superintendent of Wichita schools in 1879, and Kansas Day soon spread to the Wichita area. Kansas Day continued to grow for more than 130 years, and today it is celebrated by teachers and students across the state. Before we finish up, I'd like to give you a few interesting facts about Kansas. Even though Chicago is known as the Windy City, Dodge City, Kansas is actually the windiest city in the United States. Average wind speeds in Dodge City are around 13.9 miles per hour. The first woman mayor in the United States was Susan Medora Salter. She was elected to office in Argonia, Kansas in 1887. Even though some people may say they live in the middle of nowhere, Kansans actually have proof. The geographic center of the 48 contiguous states is located just about 2 miles north of Lebanon, Kansas in Smith County. The landmark Supreme Court case that abolished separate but equal laws for black and white students in schools, otherwise known as Brown v. Board of Education, started in Topeka. The world-famous fast food chain Pizza Hut opened its first location in downtown Wichita in 1958. It was started by 2 Wichita State University students with a $600 loan from their mother. And I'm sure you know this one, Sumner County is known as the wheat capital of the world. Now, here are some famous people who were born in Kansas. Walter P. Chrysler, who was an American automotive industry executive and founder of the Chrysler Corporation, was born in Wamego, Kansas. For many years, Chrysler was one of America's big 3 automakers. Also, the Chrysler Building in New York City is named after him. Amelia Earhart, the first woman granted a pilot's license by the National Aeronautics Associate, and the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, was from Atchison, Kansas. Actor Hattie McDaniel, who was the first black woman to win an Academy Award, was from Wichita. She won the award for her role in Gone with the Wind. Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the 34th President of the United States, was from Abilene, Kansas. His presidential library and final resting place are located in Abilene. Politician Bob Dole is from Russell, Kansas. Dole was a Kansas senator from 1969 to 1996, was the 1976 Republican nominee for vice president and Gerald Ford's running mate, and was also the Republican nominee for president in the 1996 presidential election. Actor Dennis Hopper is from Dodge City. He is known for being in films such as Easy Rider, Apocalypse Now, and Hoosiers. NFL running back Barry Sanders, who played for the Detroit Lions and is a member of both the college and professional halls of fame, is from Wichita. And finally, here are 3 honorable mentions. Wyatt Earp, Wild Bill Hickok, and Bat Masterson were 3 of the legendary lawmen who kept the peace in rowdy frontier towns like Abilene, Dodge City, Ellsworth, Hayes, and Wichita. Well, there you go. Those are some facts that should make you mighty proud to be a Kansan.